Good evening. James Richard. I'm a resident of Lincoln Park, Michigan. And congratulations to all the new council here tonight. Congratulations to the mayor. So I was here last week. We talked about markers. So I'm here again to talk about markers. Is a marker a black or a blue ink pen? I believe you said it was a ink pen. Is that correct? Was I correct on that?
Sharpie markers do contain ink.
Okay, Sharpie markers contain ink. Okay. So, what was the reason we used markers in the 2022 midterm elections?
Again, we can have this conversation in my office.
Well, I'd like to have it in front of the council because it affects everybody.
Excuse me.
This is not the time.
So I'm not allowed to have this?
Excuse me, sir. This is
Yes.
not a place for back and forth.
Okay, well, I'm not here today.
You can ask your questions.
Okay. Well, this is not a
And-
question.
Okay. There is no back and forth.
Okay.
You can send an appointment up to talk to the clerk. I will gladly be there with you if you would like.
Okay.
But you can make any statements you will want.
Well, this is a statement.
Okay. you can
Okay,
make
and this is a statement.
statements.
Okay. So I broke it down into 3 basic facts. Cost. Was it cheaper to use markers instead of blue or black ink pens? Protocol. Is it typical voting protocol to use markers? Shortages. Was there a shortage of blue or black ink pens, so we had to use markers? So I first looked into the cost. I went out and bought 60 blue ink pens, and it cost me $6. A box of 60 Sharpies cost me $36. A difference of $30. Clearly, it was more expensive to buy Sharpies as opposed to ink pens. So I looked into voting protocol. Was it typical voting protocol to use a marker? Well, according to the election rules, which clearly state, example 1, which was our election rules, to mark your ballot, use only a blue or black ink pen. Do not use any other color ink. Example number 2 from Ballotpedia, ballot instructions sometimes indicate to use black or blue ink pen when filling out your ballot. In both of examples, it says nothing about the use of a marker or voting with a marker. Maybe I can ask you a question. Maybe you can help me. I voted using a blue Sharpie marker instead of a black Sharpie marker that was in the booth. If I can use a black marker instead of a black pen, can I use a blue Sharpie instead of a blue pen?
Those will work.
Can I use a blue Sharpie?
Those will work.
She says those will work.
I'm sorry?
Those do work.
Okay, so blue Sharpies, I can use a blue Sharpie.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I used a Sharpie to vote with. But in other voting precincts, people use other styles of marker. Was there a certain style of marker we could use? For example, a Sharpie, a bolt marker, any type of pen marker. Can we use all styles of marker?
We can just ask questions back and forth at a meeting that you can have with the clerk's office.
Okay. For the record, I never voted ever using a black Sharpie. I've always used a pen, a pencil, an ink pen, or a pencil, and I go back to the voting punch machines. Did anybody here ever use a marker to vote with prior to this last election and the election before that? No. Interesting. So, who basically implemented, who voted on this? Who voted on markers? Did the city council here vote on markers, so we had to implement markers into the... Did anybody vote on that?
Again, last chance I'm gonna give you.
Okay.
We're not answering questions here.
Well,
If
okay.
you want questions, you have to go to the clerk's office.
But
I will glad to meet with you.
Okay. Under the First Amendment, I have grievances.
Okay.
These are the grievances I bring to my city council. Okay. So basically, you didn't vote on this. Nobody voted on markers. The courts classify fraud under 2 major types: criminal and civil. Civil fraud is when the fraud is intentional misrepresentation of facts. Criminal fraud, where the theft is involved in fraud. It's a fact that the rules clearly state to vote using only a blue or black ink pen. A marker was used, therefore, that is misrepresentation. It's a fact that pens are cheaper than markers, which I just stated. I bought a box of
Sir,
6.
you have 30 seconds to wrap up.
Okay. So it's a misrepresentation of taxpayer dollars because you spent more taxpayer dollars. Use markers instead of pens. And obviously the city council didn't vote to use markers, so it was a misrepresentation. And markers shouldn't have been used in the first place. There was zero reason. So in closing, what is the city council going to do about this? Are you going to bring this to the House of Representatives, to the Senate? What are we going to do?
Sir, you've had your 5 minutes.
Okay, I've had my 5 minutes, but other people have had 10.
I suggest you.
Okay, well, I'd just like to finish one last closing statement.
Sorry,
if I may.
sir, you've had your 5 minutes. You're done.
All right, well, everybody else had extra time, but okay. All right, well, thank you very much for